Hello everyone and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. Is Brooke Logan making Ridge envious by playing dirty and using Nick? Only a few days remain till Jack Wagner reprises his role as Nick Marone. There are rumors that Nick and Brooke Logan are getting back together. However, does Brooke Logan feel the same way about Nick Marone, or is she just using him? Here are some spoilers for what will happen next on Bold and the Beautiful. Continue reading to find out. Viewers of Bold and the Beautiful are aware of Brooke Logan's devastation following Ridge Forrester's breakup with his ex-wife, Taylor Hayes. B&B spoilers, the return of Nick Marone. Ridge is unable to forgive Brooke for not being faithful to him during the takeover of Forrester Creations, even if he begs for forgiveness. Watching Ridge Forrester play home with her enemy Taylor is hurting Brooke on the inside. Moving on with someone else is the best method to win your man back. The problem is made worse by the fact that Nick Marone, Ridge's enemy and half-brother, is involved. The rivalry between Ridge Forrester and Nick Marone on the Bold and the Beautiful has been extensively documented over the years. Ridge's half-brother, the famous Massimo's son, has never been on good terms with Ridge. Ridge will always be offended when he sees Brooke with another man, but he might lose it if he sees her with Nick Marone. B&B spoilers, will Brooke and Ridge reconnect? According to B&B teasers, Brooke will finally start getting over her breakup with Ridge and start getting back in touch with Nick. But when Ridge sees Brooke with his brother, he will be reminded of how much he loves her. Brooke appears sincere in his excitement. Is it because she wants to be with Nick or because being with him makes Ridge notice her that Nick is back in town on the Bold and the Beautiful? The heartbreak of Brooke Logan. For months now, Bold and the Beautiful viewers have watched Brooke Logan unravel. Once the reigning queen of the Forrester family, her fall from Ridge's favor has left her desperate, lonely, and uncharacteristically vulnerable. Ridge's cold dismissal of her, driven by a tangled web of betrayal and mistrust, some of it manufactured by outside forces, has left Brooke flailing. She begged. She apologized. She offered him her heart again, battered though it was. But Ridge wouldn't budge. His move back toward Taylor Hayes, the soft-spoken, ever-patient ex-wife, only twisted the knife deeper into Brooke's already shattered heart. Watching Ridge smile across a breakfast table at Taylor and their adult children was enough to push Brooke past the point of quiet suffering. And when Brooke Logan stops suffering in silence, you can be sure the drama isn't far behind. Nick Marone, the ghost of romance's past. Enter Nick Marone, rugged, charming, passionate. A sailor, a businessman, and once, the other great love of Brooke's life. Their relationship burned fast and bright in years past, born out of Ridge's betrayal and nurtured by mutual attraction, respect, and a deep understanding of one another's pain. Nick was never afraid to stand up to Ridge, and Brooke loved him for it. But their romance ended just like most things in Los Angeles, with heartbreak, misunderstandings, and old love flames rekindled elsewhere. Nick has been off the canvas for years, but his return promises to shake the show to its core. The timing is no accident. Jack Wagner's return as Nick isn't just nostalgia bait. It's a power move, and one that could completely upend the Ridge-Taylor-Brooke triangle that has long been the heart of the Bold and the Beautiful. Is Brooke using Nick? Let's examine the evidence. The key question here isn't whether Brooke and Nick could rekindle their romance. It's whether Brooke is genuinely interested, or just playing him like a pawn in her decades-long obsession with Ridge Forrester. Let's examine the circumstantial, and not-so-circumstantial, evidence. 1. Timing is everything. Nick's return just happens to align with Brooke's lowest point emotionally. She's lost Ridge, lost face in the Forrester family, and even her daughter Hope has been preoccupied with her own dramas. Brooke is alone, and she hates it. The timing of Nick's return makes him a convenient source of comfort and leverage. 2. Her reaction, genuine or calculated? According to early spoilers, Brooke appears genuinely excited about Nick's return. But anyone who's watched Brooke long enough knows she can cry on cue and flirt with the best of them when there's a goal in mind. The glint in her eye might be less about rekindled affection and more about an opportunity to hit Ridge where it hurts, his pride. 3. Nick and Ridge, bitter brothers. Let's not forget, Ridge and Nick have never gotten along. Their rivalry runs deep. Nick stole Ridge's woman, Ridge retaliated, and so on. Brooke dating Nick again would be more than a romantic move, it would be a declaration of war. If she wanted to provoke Ridge, there's no better way. 4. Brooke's history of strategic romances. This wouldn't be the first time Brooke used a relationship to make Ridge jealous. Remember when she married Eric just to get close to Ridge again? Or when she flirted with Bill Spencer while still clearly in love with Ridge? Her track record speaks for itself. But what if it's real this time? Let's play devil's advocate for a moment. What if Brooke isn't scheming? What if she's just finally moving on? After all, Ridge has repeatedly shown he doesn't trust her. He's been hot and cold for decades. Maybe, just maybe, Brooke has had enough. Maybe she's choosing Nick not to hurt Ridge, but because she wants peace, stability, and someone who actually values her. Nick was always more grounded than Ridge. He didn't come with the designer suits and Forrester legacy, but he had a soul. He cared about Brooke as a woman, not just a conquest. Is it so hard to believe she might want that again? There's a tenderness in Brooke and Nick's past that's hard to forget. Their connection was real. So, perhaps what began as a convenient friendship might truly blossom into love once more. The Ridge factor, jealousy incoming. Of course, bold and the beautiful spoilers tease that Ridge won't stay unaffected for long. Reports suggest that once Ridge sees Brooke with Nick, a storm brews. That calm, self-righteous exterior will crack, and the old Ridge, the one who never really wants Brooke until someone else has her, will rear his head. Ridge has always been territorial with Brooke, even when he's with someone else. Seeing Brooke smile at Nick, laugh with him, touch his hand, that will send Ridge spiraling. Spoilers hint at heated confrontations, possibly even physical ones. The return of Nick is the perfect trigger to awaken Ridge's feelings, and his ego. The million-dollar question is, will Brooke fall for it? Taylor Hayes, the silent victim? Let's not forget Taylor in all this. She's Ridge's current partner, the safe choice he made when Brooke's betrayal broke him. But even Taylor must know, on some level, that Ridge's heart still beats for Brooke. As Ridge begins to spiral into jealousy over Brooke and Nick, Taylor will be watching. Will she hold on tighter? Will she walk away? Will she confront Brooke directly? This triangle could become a square if Taylor decides to fight for Ridge the way Brooke always has. And Taylor, though kind, is no fool. If she senses that Ridge is slipping back toward Brooke because of jealousy, not love, she may beat them all to the punch and leave on her own terms. Nick Marone, victim or villain? If Brooke is using Nick, where does that leave him? Nick is no stranger to manipulation. He's played the game before. But after years away from the chaotic Forresters, perhaps he's come back with a new perspective. Maybe he wants something real. If he falls for Brooke again, only to discover she's using him to poke the bear that is Ridge, it could devastate him, or awaken the darker side of Nick we haven't seen in years. Jack Wagner is a powerhouse actor, capable of nuance and intensity. Don't be surprised if Nick slowly realizes he's being played, and decides to turn the tables on Brooke. The long game, Brooke's endgame. Ultimately, the question we're all asking is, what is Brooke's endgame? If her goal is to win Ridge back, she might succeed. Seeing her with Nick could rattle Ridge enough to come crawling back. But then what? Brooke takes Ridge back, and Nick is discarded again? Or, is Brooke finally going to choose herself? Maybe Nick's return is her wake-up call, that she deserves better than Ridge's back-and-forth affections. Maybe this is a redemption arc, not a revenge plot. But then again, this is Brooke Logan we're talking about. Her heart has always beat for Ridge. Even when she's in another man's arms, Ridge looms in her thoughts like a ghost. Taylor's confrontation, Brooke's hesitation, and Nick's romantic gesture. Nick Marone will request another opportunity from Brooke Logan. In the meantime, Taylor Hayes and Ridge Forrester confront the reality of their relationship and his desires for Brooke. Let's discuss the upcoming events in the CBS soap opera as you continue reading. The romantic motion of Nick Marone. Let's start with Nick, who caught Brooke off guard as she was getting dressed. The blonde was excited to see her old flame rather than upset. The news of the coup appears to have gone viral. Nick mentioned the takeover to his ex, even though it has already been reversed. Nick also learned that Ridge was seeing Taylor once more. The fact that Brooke was still lusting for Ridge was unbelievable to Wagner's character. Before bursting into song, he informed the blonde that Ridge would never change. The reluctance of Brooke Logan. Nick desires another opportunity with Brooke. Brooke has yet to respond to him, despite the fact that they kissed. It is well known that Brooke confides in Katie Logan about Nick's proposal during the course of the week. The confrontation of Taylor Hayes. According to spoilers for tomorrow's episode of The Bold and the Beautiful, Ridge and Taylor will carry on their challenging talk. Taylor asked Eric Forrester if he thought Bridge should be together. Although Taylor and Eric's talk was cut off, it appears that she is much more secure than she acknowledges or that she wouldn't feel the need to inquire. Taylor continued bringing up the confrontation and Brooke. When Taylor asked about Brooke, she expected a straightforward response. Ridge's heart still appears to beat for Brooke even if he is devoted to Taylor. Ridge hasn't acknowledged it as of yet. However, a lot of problems could arise from this difficult conversation between Ridge. The situation can worsen if Ridge learns that Nick has returned for Brooke. Additionally, there is the case of Carter Walton and Hope Logan. Was it only because Liam Spencer forced Cope back together that Hope agreed to the dress? What occurs when Liam passes away? Will Hope shatter Carter's heart again, or will she continue to be with him? Nick Marone made his long-awaited return to the scene, not just as a businessman brushing off the dust of old feuds, but as a man with a mission, to win back the heart of Brooke Logan. The moment was cinematic. Brooke, fresh from the whirlwind of a fashion show, stood in her dressing suite, zipping up a cream-colored gown when she turned, startled, to see Nick standing in the doorway, holding a single yellow rose. For a brief second, time stilled. The past, their laughter on the marlin, the soft kisses under the moonlight, and even the pain, rushed back like a tide. And instead of recoiling in surprise or anger, Brooke smiled, stunned but not displeased. Nick, always the confident sailor with a poet's soul, cut through the small talk quickly. He knew the rumors, how Ridge had once again drifted back into Taylor's arms, how Brooke stood quietly, yet again, on the outside looking in. With a chuckle, he brought up the Forrester Creations takeover debacle, already reversed, but fresh on everyone's lips. It wasn't just a business ploy to him, it was the reminder of how fragile and chaotic the Forrester empire had become. He'd heard whispers in the corridors, murmurs over espresso in Beverly Hills cafes. Ridge had left Brooke for Taylor, again. That's when Nick, in classic fashion, let his feelings take the wheel. He gently reminded Brooke, not with bitterness but with resigned amusement, that Ridge would never change. He's a man torn between women like a kite in the wind, he quipped, before shocking her with a romantic ballad he had written for her years ago, a tune only sung once, now resurrected. The gesture was pure Nick, dramatic, soulful, and impossible to ignore. And yet, Brooke Logan, once the embodiment of passion, instinct, and risk, hesitated. Even though the kiss they shared was electric, rekindling a fire she thought had long since gone cold, she couldn't say yes. Not yet. The weight of history pressed on her shoulders. She knew what giving her heart to Nick again would mean. Was she ready to shut the door on Ridge for good? Could she let go of the idea that somewhere, deep down, Ridge still belonged to her? The following morning, Brooke opened up to Katie, her ever-loyal sister and confidant. Over herbal tea and tears unshed, she shared her confusion. Nick makes me feel seen, she admitted, like I'm not just a part of some destiny triangle. Katie, always the realist with a dash of romanticism, encouraged her to look inward, not at Ridge, not at the past, but at the woman she had become. You've waited long enough for Ridge to choose you and only you. Isn't it time you choose yourself? But choosing herself might mean making a bold leap into the unknown, something that once thrilled Brooke, but now terrified her. And while she weighed her options, Taylor Hayes was confronting her own unraveling reality. Taylor Hayes, proud, accomplished, and dignified, found herself in an increasingly impossible position. She had believed Ridge's return to her was solid, rooted in maturity and clarity. But when she cornered Eric Forrester in the Forrester mansion, the seams of her confidence began to fray. "Do you believe Ridge and I belong together?" she asked, barely concealing the edge in her voice. Eric, caught off guard, tried to navigate gently, but Taylor wasn't interested in politeness. She wanted the truth, perhaps even validation. The conversation was interrupted by a business call, but the damage was done. Her question wasn't just about Eric's opinion, it was about her own creeping doubt. Because the truth was, if she truly felt secure with Ridge, she wouldn't need outside affirmation. Later, when she and Ridge sat down for a difficult conversation, she didn't hold back. "Do you still love her?" she asked point blank. Ridge, typically so adept at dodging emotional clarity, stumbled. He said he loved Taylor, of course he did. She was the mother of his children, his history, his rock. But Taylor didn't want sentiment. She wanted assurance, something Ridge couldn't convincingly give. Because while his body may have returned to her, his heart, the deeper, truer part, seemed to beat to the rhythm of another. And that other had a name, Brooke. The emotional stakes rose even higher when Ridge learned of Nick's return, and more importantly, his pursuit of Brooke. It hit him like a blow. Despite his entanglements with Taylor, the idea of Brooke moving on, truly moving on, was something Ridge had never seriously considered. He'd always assumed she'd be there, waiting, in some form or another. The thought of her in Nick's arms again triggered something primal in him. Jealousy? Regret? Possibly both. But Ridge didn't act on it, yet. Instead, he simmered quietly, brooding, leaving Taylor to wonder where his head, and his heart, really were. Meanwhile, in another corner of the Forrester web, Hope Logan faced her own storm. She had accepted Carter Walton's proposal, smiling brightly as she slipped into the couture gown she had chosen for their impromptu engagement celebration. But questions loomed. Was she truly in love with Carter, or was she merely reacting to Liam Spencer's manipulations, his constant meddling, his attempts to resurrect the Lope magic, only to cast it aside once again? Hope loved Carter's steadiness, his loyalty. But as she looked in the mirror, veil poised on her head, she wondered if she was trying to silence the ache of unresolved wounds. Liam's recent accident, tragically fatal, left a hollow space in her heart, not just from his death but from the finality of their unfinished story. Her grief was tangled with guilt, anger, and longing. And Carter, so noble, so undeserving of a half-hearted commitment, stood beside her, unaware of the shadows still flickering behind her eyes. Brooke, seeing her daughter's turmoil, felt torn between offering advice and respecting Hope's autonomy. "You don't have to make decisions out of grief," she gently said. But Hope, ever the idealist, wanted to believe that love could heal, even if it was borrowed love. And if Carter was willing to give her the world, wasn't it only right to try and receive it? Back at the marina, Nick stood by the water, staring out at the horizon. He had thrown his heart into the ring, hoping Brooke would catch it. He hadn't expected an instant answer, but the silence hurt more than he admitted. Still, he knew Brooke, her hesitance meant she cared. She just wasn't sure how much. Then came the message from Ridge, a request to meet. The two men hadn't faced off in years, but when they did, it was always charged. Ridge, composed but cold, wasted no time. "She's not yours," he said flatly. Nick raised an eyebrow. "Then why do you keep losing her?" Ridge scoffed, but Nick continued, his voice softening. "You walk away. Every time. And then you come back, expecting her to be there. What if, this time, she isn't?" Ridge didn't answer, but the silence spoke volumes. The war for Brooke's heart was back on, but this time, the stakes were different. Older, wiser, and more wounded, each man was fighting not just for Brooke, but for the versions of themselves they believed they could be with her. As the sun set on another whirlwind day in Los Angeles, Brooke found herself walking through the Forrester Gardens alone. She passed by the spot where she and Ridge once danced, the bench where Nick had written her poems, the hedge where Hope used to play as a child. Everything reminded her of love, but also of loss. She sat, closed her eyes, and listened to the wind. A choice was coming. Maybe not tomorrow, but soon. And when it did, she would have to decide not just between two men, but between the version of herself she had always been, and the woman she was finally becoming.